Welcome to the Season 3 premiere episode of Teachers Have Issues. Yes, I am your host, Lana the Educator. If you're a first-time listener on this channel, welcome. Here we explore the latest educational trends, tackle pressing issues facing the education sector, conduct insightful interviews with people making a difference, and share stories of triumph and innovation from around the globe. If you're interested in all of this, then like and subscribe. Today on Teachers Have Issues, yes, I welcome my fabulous, very well qualified guest, Deborah Jean-Baptiste-Samuel. Let me tell you a bit about Deborah Jean-Baptiste-Samuel. She is an orator, a poet, an attorney at law. She earned a Nuffield Fellowship for journalism at Wilson College, Cambridge University. Deborah earned 4 journalism awards, and as an attorney, she runs her own law firm. She has received the Hummingbird Medal Gold for youth development. Deborah is a versatile, creative powerhouse in dramatic performance, and as a motivational speaker, she is exceptional. She has become an icon in the field of oratory. Her pioneering activity created the Oratory Foundation, an institution dedicated to training in the oral arts, drama, public speaking, and poetry in performance. Ms. Jean-Baptiste trains children and teenagers to be fluent in oral expression, dramatic monologues, poetry, writing, and performance, as well as public speaking, Shakespeare, and debating. Deborah Jean-Baptiste has staged 9 Shakespeare plays to date, the most recent ones being The Tempest and The Taming of the Shrew, as well as Twelfth Night. Deborah is the author of 16 books. The last one launched on March 10th, 2024, entitled Reveal Presence. She has presented 28 annual oratory productions to date. We welcome to the podcast here, Deborah Jean-Baptiste-Samuel.
A very hearty good day to you. And I want to start by thanking you for having me as part of your project and your podcast. I think it is quite exciting. I think it is something that you should be encouraged to do and something that you should be given the necessary credit and merit for arranging, because it gives a voice for persons to share. And of course, as in a podcast, it creates a listening ear for people to hear what you have to share. And I think this is really good and timely because education is something so diverse. It has moved from the classroom a long time ago, but it is something that is dynamic, and you are using dynamic tools to share about education and about teaching, which I tell you, I'd start by saying I operate from that belief. I don't know where it came from really, but I love it, where if you are teaching and the child does not understand, you must find a way to teach so the child will understand. That puts the shift on the teacher, not the student. So I think that's a good place to start. And so I have joined you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for saying that, for appreciating what we are trying to do here on Teachers Have Issues, yes, and inspiring people education-wise. But you have a very exciting organization, if you call it an organization or project, that's called the Oratory Foundation. So can you tell our listeners all over, what is the Oratory Foundation about?
Sure. The Oratory Foundation is a school. It is my school. I have it. It is like a school without the traditional formalities of school. But it is a school because a school is where you train students, you teach students. Students emerge after a period of receiving instruction, and they are able to use what they have learned to continue their journey in education. So the Oratory Foundation is enjoying its 29th year. Next year,
Congratulations.
yes, thank you. Next year, we will celebrate 30 years of producing Oratory Foundation productions.
Bravo.
So how the school functions, I have that mandate, you see. I want to teach, I want to make sure that I can input, I can pour into a child the understanding of who they are and what they are capable of doing. So it really goes to the heart of building that confidence in them. I tell them that there are gifts in them that need to be unwrapped. And I proceed to unwrap those gifts with them. So it is a language arts program that's active. So the children are taught various forms of oratory. That is public speaking. That is poetry and performance. Anything to do with that oral connection where they are using mind, heart, and mouth to express and articulate in a creative manner thought and expression. So I teach poetry writing, but not in a vacuum. They have to perform the poetry that they write. So it is the Oratory Foundation. I am using creative forms of that spoken oral component. And that, let me tell you, creates confidence in children. I must say, I benefited as a child myself from that kind of teaching. I attended private school. I went to St. Peter's Private School in Pointe-a-Pierre as a child. Their syllabus was completely different. Their focus was different. Their teachers were trained to make us talk and to make us use expression. So I grew out of a different kind of teacher-student dynamic. For instance, as a student at St. Peter's Private School, art, I'm just pulling a subject, art. The teacher gives you a blank canvas. You have paint and paintbrush, and the teacher tells you, put on this canvas joy. Now, how are you going to put joy on a canvas? You have to use colors, you have to do something. Then the next week she comes, do fair, F-E-A-R. How are you doing fair on a campus and you're 9 years old? It forced you to think, to express yourself. With art, do fair. I recall a girl, her name was Alexa. She sat 2 seats across from me. And Alexa did not put any paint on her canvas. And that was fair. She was too afraid to attempt it. So her expression was blank. And that was fair. Now the teacher is putting all your art pieces up on the wall at the end of class. And the teacher can call any student to discuss, speak about, describe, interpretation now of any piece of artwork. So you see that oral component. I remember an exercise. We had to go outside and pick a leaf, one leaf of your choice, and come and talk for 3 minutes on a leaf. You know how long 3 minutes is?
Yes, very long.
So this is how you can get children to express themselves using that creative dynamic. So I grew with that. I was writing poetry as a child. I was talking poetry as a child because my mother in her wisdom gave me this. You see this time? Sunday evening, 5 o'clock. This was my time as a child to read the poems I wrote all week.
Right.
So I was doing something. My mother was a different teacher. You see, teaching goes beyond the syllabus. You have to teach the syllabus. But how are you teaching this syllabus? If you can do it in a creative way, the child never forgets. Because look, I am pulling and telling you all of this in my childhood. And I am saying at 5 o'clock on a Sunday, that was when my living room turned into a concert hall, and I had a sold-out audience, mother, father, brother, sister, and I am performing the poetry I wrote that week. So you ask me about the Oratory Foundation, and I'm telling you when the seeds for that were planted. Because when my mother passed away, I remember reflecting on her contribution to my life. And she created a stage for me in that living room. And I said, my God, if I can do for one child what my mother did for me, in terms of allowing creativity and expression to flourish, no holding back, no restraint, no you're talking too much, child, no sit down, child, be quiet, child, none of that. It was express yourself, of course, with discipline. So I had a time, I had Sunday at 5. This is my time for expression and poetry reading and performance in my living room. And she would clap. My father would look up over the Guardian newspaper and wonder, what on earth is taking place? But he too will nod. And so my mother taught me to curtsy. And so at the Oratory Foundation, this is what I do. I started by telling friends if they want their children to be trained in poetry writing and performance, I'm going to start training children to do that. And 17 children came, Lana, 17. The next week I had 32. I said, the class is full. The class is full. And so I have training modules. I then had to go and create a syllabus. I am teaching myself to teach. I had to create a syllabus. I had to work something up because children were coming very excited with beaver eyes coming for learning and teaching. And I started the Oratory Foundation doing that. Of course, it has expanded beyond that. I'm just telling you how I started. Now I have an extensive syllabus dealing with all aspects of oration and oratory expression. And we do the ones who have gone through, you graduate, it's a school. We have the preliminary class, the advanced class, the oratorian class. We have class for children. We have class for teenagers. We have a whole school running. All I need is a school uniform now. And when they graduate and they perform, we have whole graduation and they have certificates and they move on. And I am depositing these children into university. My mother told me when I was waist high, you have a light in you, child. It is God who has put it there, she says. She says there's a seat in the university. Your name is written on that seat, firstborn. My mother called me firstborn my entire life. I was the first of 4. She said, firstborn, there's a seat in the university. Your name is written on it. What you do, you study hard, you pray hard. You walk into that university, shoulders back, chin up, find your seat and sit in it. I can tell you that in her exact words, and I must have been 8 at the time. I tell my students that all the time. They can tell you. And that's where I'm depositing the students of the Oratory Foundation. I take them from childhood age and stage. I start at age 7 and I take them to university. I tell it is not up for debate. Line up with it straight. You only choose what you study.
How do you select them? Originally, when I'm listening to you, you said, you asked your friends to, anybody else, but now it's expanded. And
that was the very first class. What I should say, the very first feeler.
Right.
Lana. That has long expired. Now I say nothing to nobody. And people are calling me.
Right.
Strangers for their child to be enrolled.
But do you accept them all? Do you accept
I met a woman in Gulf City, Lana. pregnant, telling me her child is coming. So I asked her, how old is the child? She pointed at her belly.
Belly.
I thought she had another child. I said, Mommy, I started at age 7. She said, I know.
Okay.
She said the child will grow. So they find me, and they are strangers to me, but once a child is in my program, they're no longer strangers because I claim the children and nurture them. And you ask me if I take all?
Yes.
Well, I try not to overfill the class.
Okay.
I only want 22 at a time. So if you want, you'll have to do like the pregnant woman. Put the child name down early, because I do not want more than 22. And I try to keep that. And because it's a personal attention thing.
Right.
Another thing is, at the Oratory Foundation, I do not have the class structured like you have in normal school, with the desks all facing the teacher, one behind the next. No. I have them in groups of about 5 or 6 in a circle. I have them on a table, and they are around this table, about 6 of them around the table, and I have it like that. And that works for me to teach this, for I am able to move around the tables, and then I can have a leader on each table. Remember, I am training these children for leadership.
Right.
I can have a leader on each table who is responsible for keeping discipline and order at that table. And then at any class, I give the table a color. You are orange, you are green, you are purple, whatever. And then they have to adopt. I am orange, you're dealing with someone on the orange team. I am green, you're dealing with someone on the green team. And then I mix them up. Learn to deal with people who are not on your team.
Right.
So it is really a dynamic which is inspired. And I didn't have all of that at St. Peter's, but I have developed my own module, my own syllabus. As an attorney, I can tell you, this is now intellectual property.
Yeah.
Nobody who is listening to this podcast could pick up my parameters of the Oratory Foundation and say they're going and do that.
No.
I will be glad to sue them.
And you are an attorney, so.
And I am an attorney, and I understand intellectual property.
Thank you very
well.
much. Excellent. So, you talked about some of the skills. You said public speaking, confidence. What are some other core skills and values you want to instill in these children, because you have them from a very young age? What are some other?
Oh yes, well, the language arts. I tell you, it's a language arts program that is dynamic. It is active. It is, if you could say, language arts theory and language arts practical. It is language arts practical. Right. So everything about language arts is included here. Vocabulary enhancement, writing, creative writing, storytelling. It is all here. Poetry performance, poetry writing, understanding what a story really is. A story takes a mathematical shape as a graph. A story starts and it moves a plot. There has to be conflict, and it goes to a pinnacle at apex, and there is some major thing that's going to happen, and after that is resolution. If you don't have that, if there's no catharsis, that's not a story. That is a complete waste of time. So people have to understand, you teaching language as you must know what a story is. There's a criteria involved in a story. There has to be a dynamic, a build up to some sort of climax position. Something is going to happen. After that, you have catharsis, you have resolution. Your story comes to an end. You have public speaking. I do public speaking. I do debating. I do storytelling. I do all of that. Vocabulary enhancing. You cannot use the word nice in my class. Nice has been banned forever. You can be arrested in handcuffs for using nice.
In my class, it's good. Don't say good. I'm feeling good.
we always have to replace good.
Yes.
We have to replace nice. So we elevate the language.
Right.
You see, it's a linguistic register. And the linguistic register that I set is higher than the one that they use. So they always have to shift the linguistic register up. I am not using those words that you are using. Nice and good and these sort of simplified words that are monotonous, and I'm preparing you for an SEA. I remember somebody, I don't even know how it works, but this person was correcting the SEA students, their papers. And this woman found me and she said, I corrected a paper by a student who came from you. I say, how you know that? She said, I've been correcting these papers for years. I've never got a child to write for me in SEA. He stood transfixed with fear like Macbeth upon the heath.
That's from you. That's your signature.
Yeah, because you see what I do, Lana, is I have children 7 and 8 years old doing Shakespeare.
Yes.
And I pioneered that activity in this country. And I say that because it is a fact. And when you get them interested in Shakespeare, literature becomes a love. Literature is a lavish coat that they wear. They understand it. They're into the storyline. They have simplified the plays. I have simplified the plays. And they are able to execute. So there's performance, there's drama. They have to do the Shakespeare module. They learn about them. You learn about the tragedies, the comedies. You learn the stories. They have to portray things.
So how do you prepare them for that? How do you, because let me tell you people, Deborah is talking here as if it's like, a school. I think many of us, our mindset is traditional schools because we've all been to a traditional school. It's not like a traditional school. And you have to really go to one of her productions and see these youths put this on. So this is why I'm asking her, how do you prepare those children for those productions? And it's a wide range, as you say, 7 years to university age, and they're all doing this amazing thing, which some adults will find quite difficult, learning those lines and interpreting Shakespeare. Yeah, how do you prepare these children for that?
By introducing it to them. I am a teacher. I believe if you're teaching a child about a tree, you, the teacher, must know the forest. So that you can attend to the tree,
see the big
in its environment, understand what affects it, understand how it operates. Shakespeare is not something that is aloof and esoteric, When he died, his friend Ben Jonson said he was not for an age, but for all time. And that is an exquisite line of rhyme. Because he was for all time. That's why it ends up on your syllabus.
Right.
All the literature teachers, they have that Shakespeare component. And how much Shakespeare died in 1616.
Right.
And it's on the syllabus for a reason.
Right.
A child who studies Shakespeare is never quite the same.
No.
So how do I prepare them, start them? I give it to them as it is in essence to be delivered. Shakespeare was never meant to be read in a book.
Thank you. Beautiful. Yeah.
He wrote it so they will know what lines to say. But it's not to be appreciated reading it in a book. It was to be performed. And so I get the children on the stage. And we're performing this. And I started, the first play I did was Macbeth. I do what's on the school syllabus. As you may know, Lana. What is on Perform 5, I'm doing that. Right. What is on Perform 6, I'm doing that. So this year, 2024, in February, I did 12th Night. That's on the syllabus for the CSEC, for the Form 5. The syllabus for the Form 6 is Othello. I am doing Othello. I hope you can put that somewhere out there, that we're doing Othello on the 26th of September, Naparima Bowl. And you need to come. Now, the student does not have to be doing that particular play for you to bring students to see a Shakespeare play on the stage.
Yeah, because it's more than the content. It's more than
Of
the content.
course.
There's performance, there's lighting, there's costume, there's so much more music.
My God, you're starting to get me very excited now. In that even science students can come and see a Shakespeare play. I always tell my students, you have to be a scientist to build the set. You have to be a scientist to understand gravity and how things work and what will be effective on a stage. So that this compartmentalization we have inherited, where you only bring in the literature student who doing that play to see a play, is really something that bothers my mind. Every student, you have theater art students, you have literature students, you have modern studies students, you have business students who need to see this.
Yes.
Who need to say, but this is something I can work up a business plan for.
Right.
This is something I can do a set for. I can study the physics. When I did Midsummer Night's Dream, I had the queen come down in the moon. You know the science to bring a moon down from... She came... Her entrance on stage was being... She came down in a half moon.
And it was
that
beautiful.
Was Queen Titania. She appeared... Beautiful. Listen, we had a tree. As a science student will have to do it. We actually cut down a whole tree, branch by branch, built a frame using PVC and metal pipe, and then stuck the branches in the PVC that was protruding at various intermittent directions, and then make this thing look like a whole tree. People came after the show, how you all got a tree on the stage? Yeah. We cut up a tree, branch by branch. We stuck it in there. We put the weeping willow effect. We had this thing like a whole tree. And because it was sturdy, made out of the iron, the students could climb the tree. So that was going on in Midsummer Night's Dream. Oberon was forever climbing the tree, lying down upside down like a bat. So that you have these, but science students need to know, hello, I can do that. I know what materials are needed. So I'm doing Othello. I would love for students who are just students could come and see the show. But normally the teachers bring the literature students because they're writing it for exam, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And they can understand, do you know this last exam? For 12th night, they brought an exam on a minor character, Sir Toby.
Yes.
Sir Toby is a drunk.
Yeah, Sir Toby Belt. Uncle drunk.
Sir Toby is a drunk in the play, but because students came and they saw the play, they could understand and answer the question. If you read it, that in a textbook, Shakespeare is already this sort of King James version, 16th century Middle English. You expect Trinidad children who don't even know how to read English to read that?
Yes. And to translate the comedy of Sir Toby, sometimes it doesn't come across when you read it on the lines of the page in the book. You don't see it.
That's right, because it was never meant to be read. It was to be performed. So I prepare them by having them stage, it so that now the students you see on stage are those who have gone to university and are young professionals now and still with me, those who are in university now, and those who are in Form 5, Form 6 getting into it. These are the ones I pull from to create my cast. So I have on stage oratory students born and bred. Born and bred since they were children, appearing as young adults. And people ask me, where did you get them? I say, I raised them.
Right.
I raised them myself.
And you're providing them with skills that would take them throughout their lives. You know, when you do performance, it's skills that will take you throughout your life in terms of the way you present yourself, the way you speak to others.
What I have observed with that is, I have 18 attorneys. One in Heward in law school right now. That will make 1 night. I never tell them to study law. But you see, this oral skill,
right?
You will gravitate there. But
Yes.
that is not all I have. I have 7 doctors. I
Right.
have 2 engineers. I have dentists. The only thing I do not have is a pilot.
Maybe
And
you
I
get
will
one
get
this
that
year.
just now. Yes.
You
So
get-
you see the preparation. You ask what the Oratory Foundation is doing. That's what it's doing. It's preparing children for life, to be leaders in life. Leaders. Because you cannot just go, you know what my mantra is with them. I tell them, you are not here to exist. You are here to excel.
Excellent.
That is our mantra at the Oratory Foundation. That is protected by copyright in case anybody has a great idea.
Don't steal it. Don't steal it.
Oh, don't even dare. That is already sealed. But that's what they grow on. They grow on. You are not here to exist. You are here to excel. So let excellence be your signature. That's what I speak at them and into them and upon them. I pour that into them. I had a student, Maria. She wrote a poem. It was good. As a teacher, you would have thought it was good too. But I told her, I said, but there's more in you, you know. You can still do better than that. She was writing a poem on Reagan, one of the daughters of King Lear. Okay? King Lear had 3 daughters, Reagan, Goneril, and Cordelia. She was writing a poem on Reagan. It was a good poem, but I told her there's more in her that can be. I said, go, don't give me a B when you have an A inside of your belly. That's what I told her. Don't give me a B and you have an A. You as a teacher, you have to know that. Don't think, well, listen, if she have to do it over, I have to correct it again. No. I am telling you, Miss Maria, don't give me a B when there's an A inside your belly. She looked at me because she knew it was good. I should have just accepted it and put a tick. No. She did it over. You know when she did it over, I told her again. I say, you're getting warm. You're getting warm. You know when she did that the 3rd time, it was a masterpiece.
Wow.
It was something you could frame and put on a wall or something. I mean, she was pleased with herself. You see, I was showing her there's excellence inside of her. And you know, without any effort, she was giving me this B+ poem. I don't want no B+ poem when you are A+ distinction student. And you know what that student went on to do, I can tell you. She got the highest mark in literature at Cape in the Caribbean.
Wow, okay.
That year.
Bravo.
Her name is Maria Ramnath. Go check it. Maria Ramnath. You go and check it. She came out of Astra Girls College in San Fernando. It is evidence. All you're listening, go check it. Highest mark in English literature, Cape in the Caribbean. These children come out the literature exam jumping like they don't even know where gravity lies. They call it, Miss, you know what, Cape? Miss, you know, Miss. I sit down there, I laugh at my head off because I've prepared them for it. And you know how
where is this amazing foundation? It's sounding like, you know, you all want to come down there.
Yeah, well, I am based in San Fernando.
Right. So you see where you have to go before your child is born. You have to sign up to go down San Fernando.
Yeah, come call me pregnant.
As the podcast is called, Teachers Have Issues, yes. What issues would you say you think teachers have?
I would say a main issue, I imagine, teachers have is one of exhaustion. I think I'm sympathetic to that. I understand that teachers are probably exhausted. And I understand why. Because there's a system in the institution of how it works now that will exhaust you. But I think teachers have it within themselves to do some self-healing, because that's what is needed. In that you have that syllabus, you have that time frame, you have these demands by principal and administration, but the children have to be taught. And the exam is not going to be delayed because the teacher is exhausted. So something has to happen. And I am saying, I believe teachers need to challenge creative ways to teach the same thing they have to teach, which is on that syllabus. A thing that I believe can help is if teachers recognize the use of storytelling is still the most powerful teacher. So that while you have a syllabus to teach, find a way to have that story told. You tell them the story. Let them tell the story. Storytelling in the classroom as the teacher's tool will help. It'll be something different. I mean, as basic as mathematics. You're teaching maths. What is the formula? What is it you're teaching? Put it into a story. You're doing what? Trigonometry? Well, what you teaching? You're on a boat, you're in the sea, it is 58 miles from the cliff, and up top the cliff is a lighthouse, and the lighthouse is 14 feet tall. You have to convert feet to meters, to all kinds of things going on, but you're telling a story. And the fishing boat, the fisherman is seeing the lighthouse. You draw the triangle, but you have told the story. You have the triangle going to the cliff on the sea, the eye gaze of the fisherman in the boat up to the top of the lighthouse, that and the cliff, the lighthouse and the cliff, there's your triangle, there's your trigonometry right there. But it's a story. You tell the story in subjects that you think are not prone to storytelling. They are. I have a child 11 years old wrote a poem on prime numbers. Prime numbers.
Wow.
How 9 is antisocial and 11 is a bachelor and will never marry. So there's a story somewhere in whatever you teach. It will help because you have to have your syllabus. You have the same limited resources. Your resources have not increased. So something that's coming from inside. And that's a good story. Children never forget. Those children in your class, miss, could tell you every detail of a movie that they look at. True. They come and they tell you the story. Because we are oral society. We pack up these children with a lot of books. But we are an oral society. They still learn by what they hear. And you cannot erase that. We are an oral society. Even our tone of voice is language. If I say or I say I have said two different things. Yeah. All I changed was my tone of voice. Which is why I say get storytelling into the teaching of the syllabus. I am not getting teachers to stray. They have no energy for that. It is already exhausting. But it will help the teacher to do something creative, lifts the weight of exhaustion off of your shoulders. And so it's something to think about, because I think the issue teachers have is they are exhausted. You know, you could take a class outside. You could take a class, you could do that same class in a different classroom, a different space.
Yes.
You know, we have in San Fernando. I carry a class in the top of San Fernando Hill.
Okay.
But that's the perfect place to do a class. And to get to the top of San Fernando Hill is a lesson. The lesson is do not stop until you reach to the top. So I give them a lesson for life, and they have to, and then when we get up there, I do the class in an open air class on San Fernando Hill. Now one teacher might have a field trip and teach something and come back and make the children participate in the learning of it.
Mm.
Now, you might only be able to do that one day for the term, but it's an idea.
Yes.
You don't have to go on a whole field trip. You don't have to go on San Fernando Hill. You can do it right in your class and have the children convert the classroom into a different space. Put the desks and chairs to the side and let's convert the classroom into a different space.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised how those children get active.
Mm-hmm.
They're suddenly ready to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think is a main issue teachers have.
Thank you.
They're tired.
We got some ideas there. I hope it's not copyrighted. We can.
No,
can
that
take
is
those.
creativity
can
that
take-
the teacher will
yes.
come up with, you know.
Right. You
I think
have
teachers
so
have
many
a
roles.
heart to
you know.
teach. Huh?
I say you have so many roles: poet, attorney, orator. What does a typical day look like for you? Where do you
Oh,
find
very
the
busy.
time?
Very busy. But you know, I think that and how come, I suppose you're asking, how come I am not exhausted? I am not. I am always energized. I mean, I make sure I eat. I
Right.
make sure I sleep.
Right.
I make sure that I pay attention to those basic things that will allow your body to function well.
Mhm.
I eat well. You know, I do not eat junk.
Mhm.
I drink loads of water. You know, I dress well.
Mhm.
I aim to look good. I tell my students, I said, dress as you want to be addressed.
Nice.
I believe teachers should dress well, look good,
Mhm.
walk into that class and smile, whether you have a headache or not,
Mhm. Mhm.
because it sends a message to you too
Mhm.
that you're worth it
Yeah.
and you're not going to go scrappy.
Hmm.
So I eat well, I sleep well, I dress well, I speak well, I enjoy it.
Right.
I enjoy it all. I'm an attorney
Mhm.
and I have cases, but you see, again, every case for me is a story, is a movie.
Mhm.
So that lightens the load. You know, I have my files in my mind classed as HBO, Cinemax, or Lifetime. Because these stories people come to me with, worthy of movies. I told a client one day, I said, my dear lady, I do a lot of divorce. I
Oh.
said, my dear lady, if Shakespeare got the script of your life, he would never have written Hamlet. She laughed.
Tragedy.
I said, listen, if Shakespeare got the script of your life,
Hmm.
he would never have written Hamlet. This is more exciting than Hamlet. I am going to get Steven Spielberg to come and take some of my law files and make movies. Because you see, that now lightens the weight of it.
Yes.
I have translated it.
Mm-mm.
This is a movie.
Right.
I can deal with it. I get the story. I
Right.
can go to court and argue your case.
Mhm.
Yes, you should get custody of the children or you should not.
Mhm.
So I am looking at that as a way of making life real and enjoyable at the same time.
Mhm.
My Oratory Foundation, I find time to do it. I don't have time to do it. I
Mhm.
make the time
Mhm.
because I am doing, as you know, law.
Mhm.
And that alone could take all your time.
It can, yeah. Yeah.
So where do you find time? I make time for oratory because I love it. And I have built it and God is blessing it. And I see the students and the outcome, the product motivates me to continue. When I see students who came in walking, dragging their feet, they didn't know why their mother even brought them.
Mhm.
See them emerge, it is a metamorphosis experience, you know. See them emerge from caterpillar to butterfly, taking wings and flying into the university with such unique vocabulary, it will impress even me. So I am really delighted that I can do these things. I pray for strength. I pray for health.
Mhm.
I pray for energy and mostly for creative thought
Mhm.
because creativity keeps you alive, you know. I'm working on Oratory 29 for November, and it's a creative process.
Yeah.
So you will see on Oratory Foundation channel, I have Oratory 25 and Oratory 26. Let me say a minute on that.
Yes, of course.
That was COVID.
Right.
The Naparima Bowl was closed. All theaters were closed. It was COVID. 2020, 2021 theaters were closed. Well, that didn't mean I was closed.
No.
I was not closed. I got up every morning in COVID. I took my shower and I got dressed to stay home. I was writing, man. I was all fancy dancy. Comb my hair and my makeup on, and between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock, I am writing. I stop for lunch between 12 and 2. And if I want to do something of entertainment for me after that, I could go back and write. Because I love to write. Writing for me is an excitement. I wrote
you've written, what,
COVID.
16 books, and you have 3 over COVID. You have your latest one, I believe, in 2024.
I just put out one in March.
What is that one about?
Reveal presence, poetry. It's like a gestation period. Like I gave birth to a baby in 9 months. I did that one. And it is poetry that my students can perform. We do choral speaking. We do all the oral forms. Now, Oratory 25 is on YouTube. The theme of that is home, because that's where we were. We were home. It was COVID.
Yeah.
So that is set in my law office, and you will see from that, my law office is done like a home, because I do family law. You see, I tell you, I'm not going to have a traditional law office, which is sterile and static. I have it done like a home. And people sit in my living room. That's the waiting room. It's like you come by a friend's house to talk, and then they come into my office, which is like, you close in and you can share with a friend. So that I did home, and it was filmed there. And we did Oratory 26 is COVID outdoors. That is themed among the trees. Because it was COVID, the cameraman is far from me. We have social distancing, he's zooming in, and each piece was a solo. So there was no contamination among the students. Social distancing. But I did my oratory show. I have not missed a year, and COVID was not going to let me miss it. COVID is so big.
You're talking about adapting there. What was that like? What was that like, the adapting from? Because you are stage performances. That's what most people would know you for. But you basically went into film. You went into
that was a perfect opportunity, my dear. That's what I'm telling you. Perfect opportunity to teach my students something new. So we did video. What is needed for film? What is needed for video? How they had to clamp up this mic and put this clip, and how they had to be for video, as opposed to, and you perform it for trees and it's grass. Your audience is grass. As opposed to performing on stage in the Naparima Bowl and your audience, people right there moving, dynamic, clapping and laughing. When we perform among the trees, the audience is grass. Blades of grass and leaves on trees. No clapping, no laughing, no sentiment with interaction with an audience, which is done on stage. So they have to learn, even though you do not hear applause, the grass is hearing you. Perform, nevertheless, you're performing for the camera. Not for the people in the bowl or Queen's Hall or Sapa or Dapa. So they had to learn a new dynamic, performing with no audience present and still giving all the energy that's needed, because go on YouTube and you will see it. I have students, I have a child there 8 years old. If you see how long that piece is, that child learned that in no time. Because oratory teaches you memory, You have to learn long things. So that I did Oratory 25, that was home. And the following year, Oratory 26, Among the Trees, and Oratory 27, Naparima Bowl was open, and I went back in the bowl. It was like nothing. And I teach the students, there's excellence without excuse. Don't come and tell me you couldn't do anything because it's COVID. Are you crazy? What do you have an excuse you couldn't produce this because it's COVID? I had to lead by example.
Yes.
Oh no. I remember I said, Miss, what we going to do now? I said, we're going to do oratory in a different way.
Right.
That's what we are going to do now. And we did it. But I could do oratory on the hill, on a boat, on the field, because you adapt.
It's not a place. It showed you it's not a physical place. You know, it's not a physical place. It's a living thing, as you said before. It's a dynamic thing. It's an experience in itself.
It's a creative concept.
And I saw it, and even when I heard, I said, how are they? Normally we go to Naparima Bowl. How are they going to put on this thing, COVID? So you go, and you came to see out of curiosity. You came to see what went on out of curiosity. And you had a good laugh, because I think the film eventually came out to schools, and they showed it in like Nalis and so forth. So even the children were curious, and they were having a good laugh. You know, I can't remember. I think it was 12th night. Yes,
I filmed 12th night at Oratory Great House.
Right.
Oratory Great House up in the Cocoa Estate.
Yes.
And because I do the Caribbean interpretation of Shakespeare, as I said, so that great house was perfect for what was happening in 12th night, where you still had the days of the glorified servants and so on, attending to the mistress of the house. So we did the filming of 12th night at Oratory, and then I had it available for the students to see at Nalis. The library and the audiovisual facility made it possible to just put it on, and the students were able to see.
And it was memorable because you saw it's not what you might have done on a stage in terms of the props. The environment were used as props. And I think the student had a very good time looking at the actors engage with the unusual environment, the tree and the leaves and all of that, as you were saying. It wasn't interesting.
I mean, it was different because you know that play starts with shipwreck and Viola is washed ashore.
And so everybody was laughing.
We put Viola in the sea, down in Shagaramas. She's in the sea on a log floating ashore. And this is not supposed has to film that.
It's not supposed to be funny, but it really was kind of funny when we looked at it in the local context, you know, and the girl and the young actress.
I think that's the dynamic that will make them remember every aspect of the play, including Sir Toby Bell, the drunk. And Malvolio dressing up, trying to be what he is not.
This yellow
and it's funny. It's a comedy. And he is all dressed in these yellow stockings and purple cross garters. And they identify, the students can identify. You had Maria the maid. Now in Shakespeare, Maria is a maid. Well, let's get a maid. We had her a proper maid, coquille, broom and all. So we had Caribbean interpretation. But we did not change a word in Shakespeare.
No, they didn't. Really unique.
We did not change a word, but you see the context of it makes it understandable.
But why did you choose Shakespeare? Why you've directed several production on Shakespeare plays? What draws you to Shakespeare of all things? Because we have a lot of Caribbean, right? What's that?
Yeah, it's a personal love I have for Shakespeare. And that's a challenge. As a child, I had a book called Tales from Shakespeare by Charles and Mary Lamb.
They still use it, yes. They still use it.
That book still exists, but I grew up on that book. That book opened my mind. That book was under my pillow as I slept as a child, because I'd go to sleep with it and my mother would just push it under the pillow. Because if I got up and it wasn't there, I'd be walking all through the house looking for my book. So she put it on the pillow. Don't worry to get up and wake me up any stranger. Well, look your book right there. Okay? But it was a good story. You see, that was a storybook. It took away from this whole thing about a play with whither thou goest and thou. It became a story I could understand. Now, to answer your question, I don't have to do Shakespeare only, but I choose to do it because I believe if I do it for Form 5 and Form 6, whatever is on the syllabus, it assists the teachers. For the students to understand. You see, the teachers can deal with all those Caribbean texts. But I think if I get the Shakespeare out there for the students to understand, it helps the teachers. Well, it certainly helps the students because they understand it. But I believe the teachers are capable of sharing the Caribbean stories in a way that they understand in class. But the challenge for the teachers would be the Shakespeare. So I sort of help and ease that challenge by creating these performances of the play. And we are doing Othello. Othello, I had Othello rehearsal last night. All 10 o'clock in the night, we are doing Othello so that schools can understand the play. Schools can understand Othello and Desdemona and Emilia and see what this fella called Iago is. Yes? He's a trickster. He's a trickster. You think Nancy was bad? You haven't beat Iago yet? So I do that. I can't do the Caribbean plays, but I believe I would be of more help if I do these that I'm doing. It's my belief. I don't know. I may be wrong. I'm not supposed to be right about it, but the thing is, I personally love it.
Yes, as do I. Why do you think Shakespeare's that body of work is so important for today's audiences, especially for young people? Why would you think Shakespeare?
Because it's timeless and what it teaches universal lessons. It's timeless, and his friend was very correct. He's for all time, and I have taken on this mandate of sharing Shakespeare, and the Caribbean interpretation excites me incredibly. And I've been the first one to do this among the school student population. Yes, we're not talking about when maybe Derek Walcott did something. I'm talking about now where I can use students in the Oratory Foundation, school-age students who are actually in the class themselves, and put them on stage and have them execute this play in a professional manner and in a professional way. I love it. I think it's timeless because of what it teaches. I mean, look at Othello. What is the problem? Race? Well, we could teach that. What is the problem? Race? Are you serious? Because this man is black. Desdemona's father is objecting and saying he's of a sooty bosom and he must have used witchcraft to get his daughter, because under normal circumstances, she would never fall in love with a black man. Well, you put out here now, we have enough race for the children to understand what's going on in Othello.
Yes.
So Shakespeare was way ahead. He's dealing with that. He's dealing with race relation. Othello is an outsider, and Othello has a weakness. He's listening to Iago.
Yes.
You know, powerful men choosing their friends wrong. Iago is not your honest Iago. He's not your friend. He wants to bring you down.
And that is a lesson the young people can learn as well. Friends.
That is a lesson that they could very well learn.
Yes.
You see, because they're exposed to a lot of peer pressure that is negative. You have to choose your friends wisely and don't believe everything that they tell you. They're aiming to bring you down.
Yes, you don't always have your best interest.
So that's why Shakespeare remains, King Lear. You give away your kingdom. Huh? You give one daughter saying she love you to the flattery, something wrong with you? Love you more than the sky and the sea and the air. The other one love you more than the air and the breath and they all lying. You give half your kingdom to one, half your kingdom to the other. That means you have none. King Lear is out in the forest, in the rain, in the storm, crying. So parents can learn. Children can learn. You know, there's a folk proverb out of Tobago, I think. Tobago has some very exciting proverbs, I tell you. I'm into Shakespeare, but I am more into my local proverb teaching, and Caribbean-ness is so strong in me. I take it over. My Caribbean-ness overpowers the Shakespeare. Imagine, there's a proverb out of Tobago that says, parents gather by rake and children give away by shovel.
Yes.
Okay. You see if you will find that inside of Shakespeare. You talking about she tiny but she talawa. That's a Jamaican proverb.
Yes.
That is Midsummer's Night's Dream.
Yes.
That little girl, she's short, but she's dangerous. She tiny but she talawa. Yeah? That is Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah.
So you find that you can apply our Caribbean-ness to understand what he is saying.
Yeah.
And he is saying a lot of things we need to know so that students can learn something. And it is going to remain like that. His work is canon. That classic work is a canon of classical literature. It is going to remain. And we better see what there is in it for us to learn. It is not coming off the syllabus.
No.
It's not. It will remain. So I want to encourage teachers to do it. A teacher said something to me that disturbed me, Lana, I must tell you. I was talking to a teacher and she says she believes Shakespeare is wasted on our students.
Oh, no.
So I took about half an hour trying my best to change her mind from such mad, crazy thought.
Oh, how?
She said Shakespeare is wasted on our students. I said, let me tell you something. I said, if that's what you think, the children will not grasp anything.
No, yeah, because you are the one supposed to be. Look how passionate
you are
want to
pouring
know.
out to them that it is wasted on them, so they will
Yes.
reject it. You see, it's how you approach it.
Yes.
And so I say, my God, let me do what I can to make all literature available to my students here in the Caribbean, because we have some of the best students in the world. And if you think anything less of the students, you are wrong. The students are very capable. Nothing you can teach is wasted on a student.
No.
Find a way to teach it so the child will understand it.
But what do you say to
That's-
somebody whose mindset is similar to that, in that, well, we have our own Caribbean works here. Why are we studying this Englishman's work? What do you say to somebody who wants to take
I say study the Caribbean work. I'll be the first one to say it.
Yeah.
Because our Caribbean work is powerful.
Yes.
I will say study the Caribbean work, but do not reject the classic canon. We are to benefit because European countries, they have the classic canon, but they do not have the Caribbean understanding. We have the Caribbean text. We have the Caribbean writers. We have Walcott, we have Naipaul, we have Braffett, we have Selvan, we have the Caribbean writers. But we will then have both the Caribbean and the classic canon. That will make our students even more dynamic than they already are. They can speak to both the Caribbean and the classical. And that is something we should embrace. You know, the European students they can only talk classical, they can't touch us. They don't know where to start with Caribbean text. But we have the Caribbean text and we can have the classical. But do not be so crazy as to remove the classical canon from our literature. We will then be deprived. Our students will be deprived. Our students are capable of excelling in the Caribbean text and in the classic canon. Well, then let us do that.
For sure.
Let us do that. I did literature at the university. I did all the Caribbean courses. West Indian Literature 1, West Indian Literature 2. I had lecturers like Pat Isman and Gordon Rollet and all these people. And I learned all that Caribbean excitement. But you know something? They are the same people teaching the classical canon.
Yes.
Let the teachers consider that. They are the same ones. Barbara Lala, Ken Ramchand, Pat Isman, Gordon Rollet. They teach in Caribbean, but you know they are the same ones teaching the classical.
Yes. And many
teaching.
teachers out there would have had that experience just like you, with those same professors, with those same.
That's right. So let us understand that they are powerful and prominent because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So why our students must be deprived, and why are we doing that? Well, to say, well, we have Caribbean text, forget about European text? Not at all. Do Charlotte Bronte, not only Shakespeare, do Charlotte Bronte, get Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre and all these classical texts into our students from early, and let them have the wide variety of exposure and experience. Man, I find they should not have stopped doing Chaucer at Form 6.
Oh, I didn't know.
Do Chaucer, what is stop that for? Somebody find it's too much?
Difficult, yeah.
Man, you ever met the wife of Bath in Chaucer?
Yeah. I know one or two schools are doing Canterbury.
The wife of Bath from Laventille. The wife of Bath is a red woman in Laventille. Listen, it is so exciting and dynamic to think they stop teaching Chaucer in Form 6. That's a decision that they make. But the thing is, that classical context, it is not some things that we cannot appreciate.
Right.
And to me, that is what gives us an advantage. We can play the violin. We can play the steel pan.
Right.
So you mean in music, we must stop teaching violin because we invented the steel pan? No. Play the steel pan, play the violin, play the cello, play the philharmonic work. Play all classical instruments, and you have your steel pan. Why you don't apply that concept to literature? The Youth Philharmonic Orchestra, what instruments they played? All. The French horn, the this, the that.
So let me ask you, Deborah, how do you measure the success of the impact of your foundation on the youth that it serves? Is that something you...
Well, the students grow, the students remain, they grow, and they go to university and they emerge as young professionals and adults. And I look and I see, look at you. When you came into Oratory Foundation and you wrote dream career, whatever they wanted to be, pediatrician, psychiatrist, and they come out being that today. That's how I measure it.
Excellent. Yeah.
I measure when we had career day, when they were 8. And then some of them changed careers. I mean, they're not locked in, but at least they had a dream at one point, and then the dream changed to some other point, but they walked into their careers. And they've done so in a very creative and dynamic way. So that I have students studying for exams coming to rehearsal. What do you mean? Because you have an exam, you're not doing... Listen, that dynamic keeps that brain working. That extracurricular, you're learning lines for 12th night and you're writing the exam. When I tell you we did 12th night, not February, when is mock exam?
February, March, yeah.
I had students writing mock exam and on stage. Maria the maid was writing mock exam and we doing a play in February in Naparima Bowl. Wait, when the results come out, all you're going to hear, we always on some merit listen, see second tape, you know.
Yes.
But this is the point. You keep these children active and they produce over and above your expectation. You ask me how I measure it? Well, I mean, I don't set out with a measuring tape, but I can assess it by seeing the success and the ease with which they achieve that success, because remember, it's confidence building since they were 8. So how they achieve that success, and they're able to relax in a rehearsal on a Saturday night and they have a test or exam Wednesday. When you're not coming to rehearsal, you're bad or what?
So how do you envision?
We functioned. What's that?
As we're wrapping up here, How do you envision the foundation's impact evolving over the next few years? What's your...
Well, I am redoing some of my courses. I am doing over some syllabus structure and introducing some new things to the Oratory Foundation. So that's one way in which it is evolving, in that the courses are changing. And that is one way to keep the interest of the students, because they will soon be producing their own videos.
Wow.
So that keeps it dynamic, that keeps it going, and the students are enjoying it. It is a language arts program that is active, and they can apply it. And as they go, more 7-year-olds come in, and more pregnant women will meet me in the mall and say, their child come in and the child has not yet been born. So I want to end by saying I give God thanks.
Yes, and all
I
things.
give thanks to Almighty God, who has created me and who has created the creativity in me and has allowed me to pour this out on children. And I thank God publicly always for that. I want to pray for you and for all teachers that they will not be exhausted, but they will be exhilarated about teaching, because it is one of the most exhilarating professions, just seeing your students evolve. And of course, I end by saying Othello is in September the 26th, Naparima Bowl.
September 26th, Naparima Bowl, teachers.
September 26th is a Thursday, I think. Naparima Bowl, whatever day it is, bring your students and come. Well, you have to call me to make sure you have
tickets. And she's telling you early because they're usually sold out. So she's telling you early here. You heard it.
That's right, because we're only doing that one day. Remember, my cast are young professionals. They're working as lawyer and doctor and engineer and things.
Yes.
Okay.
So I want my listeners to know that you empower minds and you ignite curiosity. Thank you so much, Deborah Jean-Baptiste-Samuel, for joining us here on Teachers Have Issues. Yes.
You're very welcome. Bless you.
Yes, it was very enjoyable.